This periodic table is set up to hopefully help you understand how we fill the electrons and write proper electron configurations. So what I've done is I've broken the periodic table down into colors that represent the sublevels in each energy level. So for example, let's look at the sublevel S. We have a sublevel of D. We have a sublevel of P. And down here we have a sublevel of F. These are the F block, the P block elements, the D block elements, and the S block elements, or the S elements. And helium right here for writing an electron configuration should go in this space right here. Right? It should go right here. But because it has a inert shell, it fits down here where the inert gases are. Remember that helium and hydrogen are kind of the two oddball elements in that they only have a maximum valence number of 2, right? Everything else has a maximum valence number of 8. Remember, the valence number is the maximum number of electrons allowed in the S and P sublevels. Remember, there's 2 in the S and there's 6 in the P. So 6 here and 2 here. And those are going to be our valence electrons, right? So in this column right here, we're going to have 8 valence electrons. This one have 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The helium has 2 maximum valence, so that's going to go here, right? All right, so let's see how this table works. So we fill the energy levels increasingly. So we start with 1, then we fill the second, then we fill the third, then we fill the fourth, and then we fill the fifth, sixth. Now there's a little bit of a jog here. In the third energy level, we start with 3s, which makes expected, but then you would think that you would fill the 3d. Right, because the D would come here, and you think, well, why don't I fill 3D or 3P then 3D? It doesn't work that way, because what happens is there is a energy overlap between the third and the fourth energy level bands, and the 4s electrons are lower in energy than the 3D electrons. The 3D electrons being the highest level electrons in the third energy level. So they overlap a little bit. So if you did an energy diagram and you did all these things, what happens is here's my fourth energy, and it dips down a little bit, and this is my 4s, and then would be my 4p, and then up here would be my 4d electrons, and then here's my third energy level. And my 3D electrons come here, my 3P electrons would come here, and my 3S electrons would come here as far as energy. So remember, this is increasing energy. Right? So there's a little bit of overlap. So you fill lowest to highest first, right? So you're going to fill these first, then these, then these, then these. So there's that little overlap, even though the energy level here, if the average energy level here is lower than the 4, then when they split, there's a little bit of a gap there's a little bit of an overlap between them. So that's why we fill the 4s before the 3d. Right? So if you have any, you should know that. So if you don't, you should try to understand it why. But I just told you that there's an energy gap overlap between the two, and so you're going to fill the lowest one first, which is the 4s. So the periodic table is set up just that way. So as we fill through, we get to the 3s, we fill those, then we go to the 3p, those are next. And since the energy of the 4s is lower than the 3d, we fill the 4s, then the 3d, then the 4p, 5s, 4d, 5p, same thing. All right. So let's pick a simple element first and do it, and then we'll go to something a little bit more complex. So our first element we're going to pick is going to be oxygen. So oxygen has 8 electrons that we have to accommodate for in our electron configuration. So let's write it out first, right? So first of all, let's count. So we're going to fill so oxygen is in the second energy level. So we should have electrons in the second energy level. So we're going to fill the first energy level completely because there's only 2 electrons in there. So the way we do that is we're going to put, there's 2 ways we're going to do it. First of all, we're going to do the up arrows, down arrows. So this is our 1s, and we put an up arrow and then a down arrow. And then we're going to go, our next energy level is 2s and then 2p. So we're going to put 2s here, and these are all 2p. I'm sorry, that's a p. And so our next step is, once we fill the 1s, we go right to the 2s, which is right here. So we fill these first. And so we're going to put 1 here and down. All right, so now we're done filling those, that energy level, or excuse me, that sub-level of second energy level. And so we move over to the p orbitals of that energy level. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons in the 3 orbitals of the 2p. So how we fill that is, remember, we do 1 arrow up, 1 arrow up, 1 arrow up, then we go back and start pairing them up. Okay? So we have 1, 2, 3, let's count them now. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got them all. And now the way we would write this in the normal easy shorthand way is we write 1s and we count the number of electrons in there. There's 2, so we put 2 there. And then we go 2s, and how many electrons are in that? We have 2 arrows, so that's 2. And then we have 2p, so we'll put 2p here. And how many electrons we have there? We count the arrows. 1, 2, 3, 4, so we put 2p4. And there's my electron configuration shorthand for oxygen. And the way we know it works is because if we take this number here and this number here and this number here and we add them all together, we should get 8. And let's do that. So 2, 4, 8. So everything checks. So good to go. So 1s, 2s, 2p4. That's our electron configuration for oxygen. And then let's look at some other ones here, a little bit more challenging. Okay, and let's look at our next one is, let's look at germanium, which is 32. All right, so there's quite a few electrons in that. And we're going to involve the d orbital now, so we have to understand how to fill that. So again, we're going to read left to right. So we're going to fill our first energy level. We're going to fill our second energy level. We're going to fill our 3s and 3p of our third energy level. We're going to start in on our fourth energy level with our s1, and then we're going to go back and fill in the rest of the 3d, and then we're going to continue with our fourth energy level with the p. So let's figure out how to do that. So 1s, so we have, remember, we have 2 electrons in the 1s, so we're going to write our 1s here, 1s, and we're going to put 2 electrons. And now we're going to do the next one, which is our next energy level, because we still haven't figured out, we need 32 electrons total, right, because that's our number here. And we've only put in 2 so far, so we need to draw another 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our second energy level. And remember, these are the 2p, and this is our 2s. And so we put in electrons. We first fill up each energy level, each sub-level first, 1, 2, and then we move to the p. But we fill this one again halfway first, and then we'll go back and double it up. Okay. So now I'm going to do my total count. There's 2 here, there's 4 here, there's 2 here, that's 4, there's 6, 8, 10. So I'm still got 22 electrons I got to go. So I'm going to need some more energy levels here. Dun, dun, dun. Let's put a bunch in here real quick. So let's label, and this is going to be 3s. And these are going to be my 3p. Right? And I don't put the d in yet because I don't see the d here. Right? The d isn't here yet. I see 3d here. So that's going to be somewhere to the last. So we put 3p in. Now we go to 4s. Now we put in the 3d, and we're going to need a couple of them here, right? And then we're going to need 4p, looks like, because that's my fourth p one. and we'll put 1, 2 lines there. So now we're going to start filling more electrons. So we have to put in some here, then we put in these, and then down, 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 1, 2, because that's the sec. Now we're in the 3D. We need 10 electrons here. So again, we do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is our 5th one. And put that line there. Now we go back and double them up. 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now I need 1, 2 more here. So 1, 2, and then there's that 3rd energy level here, right? So there you go. So now let's write this out shorthand. These are the 3D. So we have 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 1, 2, 4, 6, 6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10, 4p2. And if we add these all up, let's add them up. 2, 4, 10, 12, 18, 20, 32. And there's my number. So again, here's the order of filling on the bottom for reminding you. Just start putting electrons into each one of these orbitals. Remember, each s orbital can only have 2, each p orbital can only have 6, and each d orbital can have 10. If you do get to the f orbital, they can have a maximum of 14. So try these out and see what you can do. I'll put on some examples on the next page you can try out, and then I'll come back with the correct answers. Okay, here are some practice ones you can do. Silicon, fluorine, iron, and iodine. So what I want you to do is write out the longhand. Those are the arrow ones first. Do that, and then next to it, put your shorthand one, or underneath it or something like that. Put the shorthand one, and come back and I'll give you the answers. So you should stop the video now. Write these down, do your math, or excuse me, your configurations, start the video, and I'll give you the answers. Okay, I wrote out the electron configurations using the shorthand, not the arrows. But you should practice using the arrow ones too. This is just a lot easier to do one. But let's just do one arrow one just to make sure everybody's still on the same page. And we'll do the one on the very top. So I'll just put the arrow ones here. So let's just draw a couple of lines here. And we'll, so we can put our 1s here and then our 2s. These are our 2p, these 3 here. And then there's our 3s and then our 3p. And then we'll put the 3p here, and those are going to be these ones here. Again, these are these ones here. So let's just put our arrows in. Remember, we do everything in sequence, right? So we don't go through. So we do the first 2 up and down. And then our next one is S. And then remember, we do everything in sequence. So we put one here, and one here. Then we go back and pair them up, right? And then there's only one here, so we put 1 and then 1. And now we go into the last 2, and so it should look like this. All right, so that is your arrow one for silicon. You should do the rest of them with the arrows too, because that's important to understand where everything is. Okay, hopefully this lesson was too helpful.